Thanks again. Welcome to this SPW online workshop. And as you all know, that today we are going to learn about Lightroom editing techniques, and we'll use presets, and we'll also see how that search engine function when we do upload our images on a website like a Facebook or Instagram, anyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Sumit Dhupar, and my background is I'm a professional photographer. I consider myself professional because I apply the techniques and tools which need to be done in a professional way. And I'm doing this since 2017. And I have 3,000, more than 3,000. My collections are in online available. And you can search me on social media, and you can find my handle at Smith Photo World. So this is easily available, and you can search my whole portfolio. And most of the time I do minimal artwork, macro work, street life photography, and I like to do canvas art field kind of processing. I like the images which looks more like a painting, and that's how I do my day-to-day photography. And recently I launched my website sumitphotoworld.com, and you can visit my website. You will find all the services, photography services which I offer on the website. And SPW Expedition, just my one of brand under which I offer photography courses. And usually I do photography events like photo walk and basic photography workshop. And I'm planning to include some of the genres photography workshop in my online sessions also. Recently I've launched my basic photography workshop in a more defined manner, and I have planned for my flower photography workshop, so that will be also a virtual session. So this is the today's workshop, 90 minutes session, and we'll have session 1 for 90 minutes, and we'll have a lunch break will be for 30 minutes, and session 2 we'll cover the remaining part what we left. So I'll try to cover in session 1, but if we still left anything from the session 1, we'll cover it in session 2. And I just changed the schedule. If you see the form, I have different kind of schedule there, where I had theory session and practical session and Q&A. But here I just made it divided the workshop in 2 sessions based on the feedback I received from participants who attended my virtual events in the past. So this will be interactive session. So there will be no just one-way communication from my side. So you will be always welcome to give your inputs, and you can ask any question. You can type in with the chat, or you can just ask verbally. Just unmute yourself and you can ask questions in the middle, and we'll just have a discussion on the topic. So I believe that will be more interactive. So more interactive session will give you more better learning experience. So that's the motive all about it. So let's start. So Lightroom preset, we'll talk about for some time about Lightroom presets. So what is preset? Preset are nothing but a tool, or it's a plugin kind of tool where some predefined settings are placed. So we don't need to manipulate much of the settings to enhance the visual in the image. We can use predefined presets, and the effect will be applied on the image, and we can see the preset samples and all, and we can use it as per our need. So that's what the preset is all about. Benefits of using preset. So benefits, there are a lot of benefits of using preset. They'll save your workflow time, so you don't need to spend too much of time to starting from a scratch to feel the image and how it will look in different effects applied. You can use different presets, and that way you will get idea that which tone gives you better feel or better impact in overall frame. So that'll give you this kind of base you can start with. So when we have base ready, that'll be more easy for us to complete our work in a short time. Are they available for free? Yes, there are some sites. They are legitimate sites, and they do offer some free presets also besides their paid ones. So you can just get a good feel about it, how the presets works and how they look, feel by downloading their free presets. In the practical session, we'll look at the site which give us free presets, and we'll download few presets and use it in our work and see how that feels. Can we create our own presets? Yes, we can create our own presets. So it's very easy to create your own presets. It's like starting from scratch. So like we do in our normal scenarios when we don't use or don't have any custom presets, only default presets what's come with the application like Lightroom. So there will be some preloaded presets which you can use, and you can start from scratch, and you can save that settings in a new preset with the name. So that'll be your own custom presets, and you can use it for future work. So you don't need to redo or all the settings, all the tweaks in the settings, and all will be ready for next work. So it'll save your time. Can we backup loaded presets? So if presets is already loaded, custom presets or default presets, you can take a backup. So all presets will be stored in a specific folder under the profile, and we'll see where the location is and how we can locate it. Lightroom gave us very good user interface, and they'll help us how to find that folder very easy. So it's a folder where all the presets will be stored, even the custom presets you create, you download, so everything will be stored in the single location. How to import and export presets? So this is the majorly or highlight of that workshop. We'll see how we can import presets, how we can export it, and that's a part of the our important discussion. Okay, now we will see Lightroom in action. So in this part, it will be all about practicals and demo sessions. So we'll see how we can download free presets, how we can import new presets and create own presets, export custom presets, backup preset file, organizing photos, manage RAW and JPEG. So all these topics will. So this is the website where free Lightroom presets available, and it's authentic site, and you can download the preset as per your need. And these are the free presets available. These are the free presets available. So today we will just apply the presets which I already downloaded. It's a Riddle Drizzle, which gives some tungsten kind of bluish effect, and this is Cosmic Dancer, the preset name. So it's add more warm touch in the feel of that image. And when you click on the free preset, it will take you to the download page. So that's how the page will open, and these are the sample images. As per the site, these are the sample images where this preset is used, and you can see that it's compatible with the classic version and Lightroom mobile version and some different Lightroom versions also. And when we click on free download, it will ask you to save the file. I'm just showing you that how we download it and how we export it. It's downloaded in my downloads folder. That's how the file will look like. And because I already downloaded it, it's available. Both the presets available in my folders, and that's how the files will look after downloading. So here you will see all the different version of Lightroom, and you need to just take the folder file for the version which you have. So I have Lightroom 6 with me. So I open the folder Lightroom 456, and I can just copy this file. I'm just showing you the part how we import it in the Lightroom. So in Lightroom, we have to go to an edit menu, and there will be preference. In the preference option, you will have a different tabs, journal, preset, and other tabs also. So we have to go to presets tab. So after you reach this tab, you will see location. There's a section in the tab, and button is there, show Lightroom presets folder. So if I click on this button, it will take me to the Lightroom folder, and we have to open this folder, develop presets. So here they are. So all the presets are there in this folder, develop presets. And if you look at the Lightroom, let me take it. If you look at the Lightroom, so we have different section here. So we are in the develop section where the presets are visible. So if you go to library, you can see presets are not showing here. So they are belong to development. So when we go to develop, we can see all the presets. So now what I will do, I'll just create a folder and copy these files. So I already did it before to check these filters. So what I'll do, I'll just rename the folder Online Workshop 7 preset. So what I've done, it's like I've created a folder with this name and I copied these files. So these files from where I copied it from the download folder. So I extracted the zip file. And after extracting the file, I went to the LF folder, and there is a folder for LR456. So this is the folder belongs to my Lightroom version. So I copied it and pasted it on the custom folder which I created. So that will be the main folder for presets. So what I need to do, now the application is loaded, and you can see all are alphabetically sorted. So you don't need much effort to find your preset which you created. So this is the SPW Online Workshop 7 preset. And what I'll do, I'll just use the image where no preset applied. And before just take a note of this point, that before doing any application for the preset or any improvisation in the image enhancement by tweaking with any settings, try to make the composition correct, try to crop it if there are some distractions, try to make the frame which you want to show to your viewer before applying any preset or any settings to enhance the image quality. So this is the raw version and there is no preset applied. Now we will see how these presets will change the feel of this. So this is the warm touch preset. You see that the colors is now looking more vibrant and it's having warm touch. But it is not necessary, and that you use the preset and you have to work with that. You can customize it further. If you think that preset is just giving a base and you need to improve it more, you can do it. And how you will do it? I'll just try to raise the exposure. It was too dark for me, and I can reduce the highlight section if anything is highlighted. And this is not the best subject for this preset because all presets are designed for specific work. So you have to be very careful which preset you are using and what kind of work you are going to apply for. So we'll just take back the settings. Okay. So let me reset it. So I've done it again. So now we will use other preset, and that's the feel of other preset, which is quite opposite to what we used before. So now we will just apply the same preset in other kind of genres, like a street photography portrait. That's how the image looks like when there is no enhancement applied. So it was cloudy day and the image looks very dull, and I do not want to boost the ISO, and that's the only reason it's look quite underexposed. So I know that this is the level I can manage it and I can improve it in my post processing. So I just applied the Riddle Dissolve preset, and I'll just raise the light. So that's how the exposure will look like, and we can raise the shadows to show some details under shadow. And we can see the view before and after, how it looks. So you can see that it's a very improved image and very enhanced visual impact. We could not feel any details from the raw image, but it's looked very interesting, and enhanced visual enhancement is there in that image where preset applied. Now we will see other preset, how it feels. As usual, it's very dark at first, and when we raise shadow, it looks quite warm touch, and the colors looks more vibrant. So that's how the image will look after the preset applied. If you have any question till now, you can ask, because this is an interactive section, so I don't want to make it one-way communication. So the part we have completed is we have downloaded the preset, we have imported it into the application, and we have applied it in our work. In the next part, we will see how we can create our own preset and how we can export it. Let me reset this image. So in this section, we are not going to use any preset. We will use our own visual feel and how we see the image and how we like to present it to our viewer. So first of all, the image looks very dull, underexposed. So we have to enhance the visual of this image by raising some exposure. So this is the natural feel by raising just exposure. And to add more warm touch, I can raise temperature a little bit. And there is a very good feature in Lightroom that you have to press Shift key and double click on these tweaks, and they'll adjust it what the best suits for the given lighting condition. Like what I did for the contrast, I pressed the Shift key and double click on the contrast. It raised the contrast by 11. So 11 feels the best, where it gives more balance. We can raise it more high if we think raising more contrast can add more dramatic feel. So I'll leave it for 19. Likewise, we can do for highlight, we can do for shadows, we can do for white. So if there is need for these tweaks to adjust the image to give you better quality, they'll do the changes. If not, they'll just remain on the zero, the balanced. And the clarity part. So these are the tweaks which you can't do with automatic selection by the Lightroom. You have to do it yourself. So clarity is showing details. So if you have a subject where details you want to show, you can raise the clarity. So there are different purpose for each option. So this is not the workshop to covering the post-processing part for doing editing for portrait and all. So it's just an introduction on the presets, and we'll just try to restrict ourselves on that part. Maybe we'll have some more workshop digging more into this tweaks. So now I'm going to raise the vibrance. Vibrance is just to enhance the color quality and looks more vibrant. Saturation can look better sometime, but it's better to keep it on the normal. On street photography, it's not advised to saturate colors. They can give you more artificial effect, and they can reduce the details also if it's a very close-up shot. So try to keep it at normal. But if there is image of showing colors like in the festival Holi, so you can raise a little bit saturation just to make the colors look more saturated, vibrated. So it'll all depends the condition, the demand of frame. Now what I'll do, I missed to compose it before processing. So be careful when you start composing. You have to compose it, crop it well before doing the enhancement. So because it is a test, what I'm showing you, so I missed it. I feel that the image needs more shadow light, so details are more visible, because under the eyes everything look very dark in raw image. If we add more white in the image, it will pop out. To add more dramatic feel in the frame, we can add vignette effect. So it'll give more dramatic feel. So that's how the image looks after applying our own presets. So it looks more better, even when we compare with the preset we downloaded, because those presets are designed for different images or different scenarios. And now we can see before and after. So that's how it feels. So this is our own created preset. We have created it. Now it's with our control. And now what we have to do, we have to save this as a preset and export it. So to save any preset which you created, so settings are there. So there is no preset here in the tool where we can see this, or we can use it for different images. So now what we'll do, we'll go to the top of presets. There is a plus sign. You have to just click on the plus sign. You will have window like this. So what you can do, either you can create a folder before saving new preset if you are making a collection of presets, or you can just directly name it. So it will create in the same list somewhere down there in the list. So now what we will do, we'll just create one folder. Sorry. We have to right click on the list to create a folder. The option is not there. If you look at this preset plus sign, you will not see the option to create folder. So we have to right click on anywhere in the list and select the option new folder. So here what we'll do, we'll just give it a name. Workshop new preset. Just keep in mind, my habit becomes to put underscores. So whenever I'm using for file naming and doing any kind of image naming or file naming, preset naming, anywhere it's become my practice, and why it's becoming like this, I'll share it in my search engine optimization session, where we'll learn that how we can optimize our files for making it searchable. So it's now it's in my habit. Whenever I'm giving any name, I cover the space with underscores or hyphens. So the folder is created. So I created the folder with W. So you can see it's empty, nothing is there. So now what we have to do, we have to click on plus sign again, and from this list we have to select the folder which we have created. So workshop, new preset. So this is the folder, and we can name it as custom preset 1. You can select other options also while saving all this auto tone settings. So this preset applied with the current settings, but also correct the tone of the image. It's up to you how you want to play with the presets, and you can see all these adjustments. You can select the check boxes, doing transform. If you want to apply the transformation, like the cropping what I've done, it'll apply automatically to the image. But we don't want to do, because all images are different and we don't want to apply transformation effect same. So be careful. You have to uncheck the options which you don't want to take into the next image for processing. So graduate filters, radial filters, so local adjustments, try to avoid it. So we can manage with the other checkboxes here. And if I now I click the create button, so if you see that preset custom preset created and placed under the folder which we have created right now. But just to take an example that you created a custom preset and you did some adjustment after saving it, then how you what you will do that? So it's very easy. We don't need to create new preset. If we make any more change in the same custom preset, we can update it. And how we will do, I'll show you. I'll show you the setting which I missed or not updated in the preset, and I want it to be applied. I want it to be applied on the all images which I'm going to process. So this is the option which I missed, lens correction. So this lens correction settings must be applied when we do post-processing in Lightroom or other application which supports lens correction. So like remove chromatic aberration, enable profile corrections. So what it will do, it'll select the lens device maker lens which is used for the capture and profile. It'll all profiles. Lightroom has all the collection of profiles for different camera lenses, and it'll adjust the frame for distortion and vignette effect. So if you have image which is not having these applied, then they can give you different effect on different processing applications. So try to apply this lens correction so it will be better, or correct in a distortion. There will be not much distortion and it will be corrected with the profile use. So we have applied the settings. So what I will do, I'll just reset this image to default, and now I'm going to crop it. That's the first step for doing post-processing. We have to crop it well. Now the image is cropped and we have our custom preset ready. So now we have to just go and select our presets. So you can see whatever hard work we have done, it's all paid off now, and we just need to select the image, crop it, and select our preset to see the result and what we achieved by doing all the manual settings. So it's all there, and if we go down below, you can see that lens correction not applied, chromatic aberration not applied. And why? Because we did not select it in our custom preset at the start. So now what we have to do, we have to select it. So the correction applied, and now we have to right click on the preset and select update with current settings. It will give you the same screen window for saving preset, and we, instead of create, now we have option of button for the update. So we have to click on update. So now the preset is updated. Now again we will do reset. And now we are going to crop it. We are just repeating this, and now the preset is updated with the lens correction. And now we will apply the preset. So the preset again applied, and now we'll see what will happen to the lens correction. So this is the lens correction. You can see now it's applied because it was updated in the preset settings. So that's how the preset can be created, and we can save the presets and use it for the future work. So now we have the preset ready. Now we have to export it. How we will export it? Let's see what options we have. You can see all these export options. So these are quite different looking. What we expect, it's not there. So this is the normal export window, and here also we don't see option to export the preset. But what will happen to the folder which we found for loading presets? Just refresh it. So now we are in the same develop a preset folder from where we loaded the presets U1. Now we'll find the preset which we have created. So this is the preset which we have created, and you can see the preset file is there. So this is our preset file. So we have this preset here under the folder. So to back up it, we can back up the whole folder by copying and pasting to somewhere else. Like we will use this location, sample preset. So just imagine if for some reason you have to rebuild your desktop or laptop, and you need to load the presets because we have taken the backup, exported it, and we want to use it again, and we don't want to go to the same process for creating our custom preset. So we have to use the old one, and we have to follow the same process what we have done for the importing new presets. So we have the same way we can import our custom presets. So this is the backup one we have created. So what I'll do, I'll just name it backup preset. Because we are not rebuilding anything, so I'm just showing you the process that if we load our own custom preset which we have exported, how it works and how it looks. So I'm just renaming it again. preset 1. And now this is our backup preset, which we have created, exported, and now it's a kind of backup for us. Now I'll just put it back in the same develop preset folder. So to use it, use the new preset, what we need to do? Can someone tell? I want to hear some voice. Can someone tell how it will load? How it will load in the Lightroom application?
You can add the preset in Lightroom directly.
Yeah, it's added there. It's we have exported it. It's created a kind of backup of file. Now it is there in the develop preset folder. Now to see the preset in our list, what we need to do?
It's not already there?
No. I've just it's a kind of backup of our old preset. We have a new application, our new system, and we want to load our preset which we created earlier. So to use it, I copied the folder in the preset location where all the preset locate. But to see in application, to use it in our images, what we need to do? We have learned importing.
Add the new folder.
Yeah, it's there. But to see, it will be.
Then you have to refresh. You closed the app last time and reopened it.
Yes, so that is the trick. We have to reopen the application.
There's no other method?
There is no other method, because when we start application, it will look in the preset folder location. In any new folder created there with the preset file, it will load with the application.
Okay.
So there is no straightforward way to export and import. So we have created a backup preset folder. So it will be on the B alphabet. It should be in the top. Okay, you can see the backup preset is there. Now we have to just reset this image. So we want to see how the backup preset works. So you can see the preset name is the same what we have created in the backup. The changing file name doesn't affect this. So now we are applying the preset which we loaded again from the backup, and we'll see the lens correction if applied. So lens correction also applied. So it's a preset which we created, we exported, we took a folder backup, we imported again like a new preset, and we used it. So that's how the preset works in a importing and exporting part. If you have any question on that, you can ask. You can repeat, or we can do the demo again if required.
So Sumit, the export happens automatically. You don't need to export it per se.
Yes. So when we create preset, it will automatically create in the folder develop preset. So when we create any folder there, it will create there. If we don't create folder, we directly create preset. So like let me just create a new one. So I'm just creating a new folder. I'm not selecting any folder. So the default is user preset, or you can select new folder. If you select new folder, you have to give name of new folder, or you can let it be user preset. So when we create new preset, new custom preset 1. So this is new custom preset 1. So the same checkboxes, same settings we have for the settings. And if we click on create, and we'll check the user folder, user presets. So by default you will not see any preset here, and when we create any new preset under user preset, you will find it here. And if we see the same in our develop folder, we will have same user presets, and this is the preset we have created. So that's how it's automatically exported into that folder. So if we reset it and use it again, you will get same settings applied. So there are different ways of creating and managing these presets, but all presets will save stored in the same location.
And then you can just copy that file and share it with anyone.
Yes, that's how the preset market works. When you see any advertise for selling presets, that's how they create preset, and they create a bunch of preset folder and zip it and sell it.
And the same file is compatible with any version?
No, it's not like that. It's created with Lightroom 6.
Okay.
So it works with Lightroom 6. So Lightroom 6 is the preferred version for this.
Okay.
Okay, that's the part we have covered until the exporting and backup the presets. Now we'll see how we can organize the image files and raw files. So we'll move into the library section of Lightroom. So in library section, if you click on add folder, you have to find where your files are located. So in the organizing folder structure, I advise to create a one folder like a Lightroom work. I have Final Copy. So Final Copy are the folders where I export all the images, and Raw Original. Raw Original is the folder where I create folder for the shooting date, and I put my all raw files there in the folder. So here what I'm doing, I'm just adding folder to import it. So what I'll do, I'll just select this folder, and when I select it, so once I add folder, if you have separate drives on your laptop or desktop, you will find the folder showing under the drives. So I added those folder. They are showing me in the D drive where my all folders located. So that's how you can easily manage your raw files and your Final Copy. Final Copy is the folder where all the images will export. So let me show you example. Okay, now we have to go to file menu and select export, and we'll have screen like this. So it's up to you how you want to manage. So whenever you add any folder here, they'll add in the list. So I have a folder path for like this, that I have D drive, I have Nikon D750 folder, I have main folder for photography, and sample shots DSLR. So my all export images will store directly into this. We can select this checkbox. So if you want to export your images in a new folder, which you name it every time, or you can let it be like this, so it will directly go there. And in the file name, you can mention file name, and again you can see that I placed underscore. You can put hyphen also if you want, just to make sure there is no space in the name. And we'll see in the coming section why we don't or we should not have space in the file name. So the actual file name will become like this, and it will also again append by the file number, original file number, which is taken from the image file from the DSLR. You can have different settings. These are the file settings I do for my export, so I can create balance of it between the image quality and the resolution. And I selected my watermark. So if I click on export, the file is being exported, and every time I export any image, it will stay here. It will stay there in the under sample shots DSLR folder, and I can create new folder just to segregate my work, so I can easily use it for different purpose. And like the record shots, I have folder like this. So all my record shots stayed here, and if I want to use it for different purpose in future, I keep it as a record shot. And I have record shot for flowers and for general purpose. So these are my segregation or segmentation I've done for the image files. That's how you can use this folder structure strategy or method to manage your images and raw files. Okay, so this is we have done. So we have completed. We have the practical session of this workshop where we have learned how we can download free presets, how we can import new presets, how we can create our own presets and export it as a custom preset. We can backup it by just copying the file for new presets which we have created, and organizing photos, how we can organize our photos. So at the time of export, we have to make sure that we have some folder structure already in place to export the images, and this will help you just to control it, and you can use the record shots, and you have a separate dedicated folder just to store your record images. And how we can manage raw files and JPEG files in different folders, so you can easily locate it. So whenever you want to work with your raw files somewhere captured in the past, you can just use the file number from the JPEG file and you can use it. Any question around these topics what we have learned so far? Okay, have you heard about SEO, search engine optimization, any terms like this before?
Yeah, only with Google.
Yes, in Google, most of the time we'll talk about it related to search engines like Google, and it's a technique or search engine optimization is a backend system where it is being used by different searching tool like Bingo, and it stands for search engine optimization. It is the process of getting traffic from the free, organic, editorial or natural search results on search engines. So anytime we are searching any keyword on the Google, it is looking into somewhere in the databases where the keywords are present in the form of file names or some other tags and all. So we can use those for free. We don't need to pay any money for this for using this feature. We have to just learn how we can name our file or name our content. So it's more of a related to the website search engine more than that. And when we search or check any content on the website for the images, it's a more of a related to the search engine in the backend, and how you place your folders, how you make folder structure, how you name it, it'll help to make your reach to different audience, and when they are searching any content which you are selling or publishing. All major search engines such as Google and Bing have primary search results, where web pages and other content such as video, images or local listings are shown and ranked based on what the search engine consider the most relevant to users. So all these matters. When you name it well, they'll have better ranking and they'll have more weightage than the other content available on the internet, and you have better chance to reach your viewer if they want to search anything which you are using as a file naming or a keyword for the content. Okay, so how it works. So we know what is search engine and what it's used for, but how it works. Image optimization creates many advantages such as better experience, faster page load time, and additional ranking opportunities, and it's becoming an increasingly more important role. So nowadays it's more important whenever you are going to any website. It's all about how quickly they load. If any website is loading slowly, people used to tend to move on other websites which they works more fast. Like the Facebook, if you see, the images loads more quickly than other image sites because they have better searching engine in place. But which factors are most important to ensure your images are searchable and also not slow down your site? So these are the considerable points that what you can do so your image will be searchable and not slowing down your website. So we will just cover the points mostly related to the image part, not about the website content part, because the search engine whenever we talk about, it's more of a related to website content, and image files do help us to and use this feature, but it's mostly related to web content whenever using any content when publishing on the website.
Sumit, one question. This you're talking about only for websites, or it means your personal website, business website, or this is for social media and everything?
When we talk about website, it's all website. So any content you are using anywhere, like a Facebook is also a website.
Okay.
So when you are uploading your image on Facebook or Instagram, they are a website. They have their all content available on the internet. So in the back end, when you search something, there might be chances you will get when your image sharing policy is not restricted, when you are not making your image on the Facebook private, logged with you, when we share with public. So all this content will be available, and if you name it correctly, your file names, there will be better chances or opportunity your content will be coming into the search results. But there are some paid services also in that part, which helps you improve their ranking and let your visitors, whenever they do any content search using your keywords which are feeded in by the paid services, they'll present your images first in the results. So likewise, if you do Google search and find SPW Expedition Workshop, because I'm keep continually following this strategy, so most of the time you will find the latest content will be on the top, because whenever I'm using any banner, any images, I name it in the correct format which is required for the search engine.
Okay.
So that's a free organic way to enhance your search capability on the internet. So here are some of important image optimization tips you need to know, because we are talking about mostly on the image part. So I'll just cover those points. Choose the right format, compress your images, beware of copyright, custom image file names. So these are the points we will cover in more detail in next slides. So while there are many image formats to choose from, the PNG and JPEG are the most common for the web. So we must have heard different file format images like TIFF and BMP files and all. So those files are not good for using on the web content. So whenever we talk about website designing part, we will mostly talk about PNG files and JPEG files. And PNG files, most of us aware about that PNG have transparent backgrounds. So when you are using any PNG file, you will see that background is not solid like in the JPEG files. and they will produce better quality, but comes with large file size. So like JPEG files, they don't do any compression, so image will look in high quality, but at the cost of file size. In JPEG file, you may lose image quality if you apply a lot of compression, but you can adjust the quality level to find a good balance. So if you compress the image and also adjust the resolution for the image size, you will have better chances to present your image in good quality even at the smallest file size. Usually when we save any high megapixel image, they'll create very good amount of file size. Like in 24 megapixel image will give you at the large size of somewhere around 4 megabyte of or 4 to 6 megabyte of JPEG file. So they are ideal for large resolution images and used for display on websites. So whenever you see any content on the website or even on Facebook page, when image looks large and they'll display on the websites, but their file size will be low when you download the image. You can test it by downloading any image from the Facebook page or group. When you download it, that file size will be very less compared to the original file. And why it is? Because Facebook also applies some compression. So when Facebook apply compression, they'll reduce the resolution, they'll compress the file, and file size will be reduced. So whenever you are uploading images on the Facebook, make sure you have a little bit higher resolution image, because after uploading there will be some compression applied by the Facebook, and you may see some degradation in the quality. So to retain the quality, try to have little bit higher resolution. It will help you to give good quality images to your viewer, and they will feel that image quality is the same what is been captured. So why JPEG file format preferred over PNG file, and how it can create balance? So we understand that JPEG file is better compared to PNG, but why and how we can create a balance? So JPEG file can be compressed to reduce size, which improve load time. So that's the main benefit of using JPEG files. It improves load time. So if anyone uploading images on the internet with JPEG file, they'll have better loading time. So if that website or web page, anywhere the JPEG file used, they'll load more quickly. Even on the Facebook page, you can test it by uploading images in different format, and you will see JPEG file uploaded will load more faster on internet, because the compression from Facebook works well for JPEG files. Balance in quality can be achieved by adjusting resolution and compression level for given image. So you can create good balance between the quality and the resolution. By adjusting the resolution, you will achieve it that what with the maximum or the good amount of resolution you will see. And you can find different guidelines from Facebook for uploading images, and you will find different section of Facebook, like the post section, like the cover page, like your profile, all have different resolution defined. So if you follow that guideline, you will have more control on the image quality, and you will see that they are less compressed and the quality achieved when uploaded. And that's how you can you don't need to spend a lot of time, or when the file size is big, it will take more time to upload on the website. So that will save your effort also and internet data. That's the most critical. And you can see this image that uncompressed file size is 120 KB, and after compression it will become almost half, 68 KB. So that's how the compression works without losing the image quality. But if you do more compression, they'll start reducing the image quality. They will reduce file size, but you have to create balance how much compression you want to apply. Be aware of copyright. So this is the one thing actually we should all care about it. Whenever using image on the internet, or even on a Facebook, try to avoid it using anyone else image. Even here we'll most critical about the images which are found in the selling websites or stock photo websites like Getty Image, Shutterstock, or some other stock photo providers, because those images most of the time are licensed, and they'll give you big risk if you use their images. Even if you print screen it, then also they have some mechanism to identify who is the actual owner of the image. And there is some data protection organizations like Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So they give this service to different website owners at different plans, and to protect their website content. So it is all about just refrain from using other images, especially when you are not allowed and they don't allow or give you permission to use the images, because there is a law in place. Customized image file name. So this is the critical topic. Most of the time when we talk about search engine optimization, so it's more of related to how we name the file, how we rename it to make it more searchable friendly or usable. When it comes to SEO, creating descriptive keyword rich file name is absolutely crucial. Image file names alert Google and other search engine crawlers to the subject matter of the image. So when you upload any image on the internet using any website or source, they'll alert Google and other search engine crawlers. So there is a crawling service keep running on those web servers to find new content on the internet. But they have some keywords, they have some algorithms which they use to find those new images. If your image after uploading fits in their search criteria, the crawler will accept the image and they'll include it in their search engine. So typically file names will look like DSC 7019. That's a typical file name when we export it from the DSLR camera. You can customize file name, but anytime you export it directly from the camera, they'll look something similar to this, and it will be like a talking in a different code like language. So when we talk to someone, we have to use a proper language to talk. If we talk in different language, they will not get, or they will not understand what you want to say. So this is the same way when this coded language come into crawler scanning, they'll just ignore it. They have their criteria or condition in place just to filter out any file which name like this. So your personal images will not be come in the search engine. So whenever we are uploading our personal files, images files on the social media, most of the time you will see that you will not find any case or any report scenario where personal image reported. So whenever we are uploading our personal images on the internet like Facebook or other social media, so they will just not come into the search engine crawler, because they have filter in place to exclude all the images which starts with keyword like this, where they look like submitted by individual and not for the organization for web content. So change the file name from the default to help the search engines understand your image and improve your SEO value. So SEO value ranking is all our same terminology for different with different names. They help you improve the ranking and once the ranking is improved, then your image or content have more higher place in the search engine. So whenever you create any website, you will find that website initially come in the lower search result, but after some time the ranking will improve as the viewers start visiting your website, and they'll come on top. So that's how the search engine works and give ranking to your content. This involves a bit of work depending on how extensive your media library is. But changing to the default image name is always a good idea. So whatever the default name of image is, try to change it and change it in a way that it can be more descriptive and it can more describe the subject what you are showing in that file. Let's take this image of bird for example. So you can see the bird image on the right side. I could name it simply bird, but if you may name a file like this, just mentioning the bird, and you search on Google and just for bird, you will find thousands of images, and very rarely, or it's a very least opportunity you will give your image to come in a search engine criteria. So potentially every image can be named as bird1 or bird2 and so on. So that's how the search engine works. They'll just name your image like this, and you will not have opportunity to increase the ranking of that image file. So what I did, I named this image bird at Vaitel Tekadi with the same number of the file. And what I've done, I've added hyphens here to remove the space. What it will do, it will let users and search engines understand the image. So this is the searchable usable file name usable in search engine. So any search engine can identify this file name, and whenever you are searching keyword like this, bird at Vaitel Tekadi, so after some time, once the crawlers complete their processing part for the image and your image included in the database, you may find that your image is visible in the search somewhere. But it takes time to improve the ranking, and and sometimes it takes months to even reach on the top. That's because we are using a free mechanism here. It's not paid service, and paid service includes other different strategies and mechanisms to push the ranking further higher. This is my upcoming workshop. I've just completed this workshop, and I've covered all the part which I included. And this is again the free webinar online workshop in July, and available for registration. Besides this, I'm also planning a flower photography workshop that will be paid one, and soon it will be available for the registrations. It will be my flower photography first online virtual workshop for the paid one, and it will include all the aspects of flower photography, including some processing part. And if you like to join it, it will be available in next couple of days for registration. Usually I have some Q&A session as my previous workshops, and this workshop I changed the trend just to make it the workshop more interactive. But if you still have any questions, we can discuss it.
No, Sumit, not now.
But I want to take your some feedback. How you feel about it? That what are the content conveyed? If you can give some short feedback on that.
The information on the preset part was interesting, and most of it was new for me.
Yeah.
So I'll be downloading the Lightroom presets available, and also seeing if I can create some on my own.
Yes.
So that'll be helpful.
Purpose of this.
And the search engine optimization part was completely new for me. I didn't know that even the file name is so important.
Yeah, this is actually the most important part for someone who is looking into make some career in the photography field, or somewhere they will be selling images and publishing images. So it's a more interested to someone who is looking into making some career out of it and using images when they are more regular uploading images on the internet. So it's more usable for them. It's just extending your reach to the audience, and how you can make yourself available on the search engines.
Yeah, that'll be a big advantage, I think.
Yes.
Thank you very much for organizing this webinar.
Most welcome.